German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has arrived in Ukraine for a surprise visit. It is the first time that he has been in the country since the Russian invasion on February 24th. He is planning to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Their talks are expected to focus on military support and repairing destroyed infrastructure before the onset of winter. And for more, let's bring in correspondent Fanny Fachar, who has the view now from Kyiv. So, Fanny, Steinmeier's visit coming amid some rocky relations between the German leader and his Ukrainian counterpart. Tell us more.
Well, we all remember, of course, that Mr. Steinmeier, Germany's president, wanted to come to the capital of Ukraine already this spring in April when he was uninvited. He was actually part of a bigger group with the heads of the heads of the Baltic states, but also he was to join his Polish counterpart. And really, the last minute, he was uninvited by Ukraine. There was a lot of speculation why that happened. There never was an official reasoning for that, but Ukrainian and Polish officials were speculating that this may have been connected to the fact that when Germany's President Steinmeier was foreign minister during that cabinet of former Chancellor Merkel, his ties with Russia may have been a bit too close. Now, this is definitely an opportunity for Mr. Steinmeier to mend ties with Zelensky, even though there were a few phone calls, of course, prior to this visit, and of course to spread this message that Germany stands side by side with Ukrainians. And this is, of course, what's quite important here for Ukraine, to hear that from Germany, that they will keep supporting this country, not only in a financial way, but in a humanitarian way, militarily and politically as well. So basically, that's the diplomatic message of President Steinmeier that he brought along in his diplomatic suitcase. But of course, he also is speaking with this visit here in Ukraine to Germans back home. His domestic message that people in Germany do not forget what's happening here in Ukraine, that while, of course, there's hardship as well because of energy prices increasing, the people also realize that here in Ukraine, things are, of course, very difficult as well and much harder, given that so much infrastructure has been damaged in Ukraine and really needs a rebuilding very time soon.
Fanny, tell us more about what is happening indeed in Ukraine and what the country might need to rebuild.
Well, just over the past 2 weeks, Sarah, so much infrastructure, energy infrastructure has been destroyed or damaged that really Ukraine has a hard time to restore all of this. And winter is just about to arrive. So how do you give people the security that they will be able to heat, power their homes? Now, there's a conference actually almost simultaneously taking place in Berlin today that really mirrors the so-called Marshall Plan that helped Europe to be rebuilt after the Second World War. And Germany's Chancellor Scholz, but also the European head of the European Commission, Mrs. von der Leyen, are going to join that conference along virtually with President Zelensky, who are coming together to already speak about rebuilding and restructuring Ukraine once this war is over. And that bill is going to be quite big, at least according to estimates from the World Bank. About $350 billion will be needed, and we do not know when this war is going to end, Sarah, but this is the estimate currently. That's the sum of money that will be needed to restore much destroyed infrastructure, but just the homes that have been destroyed, and so much during the past of the 8 months while this war is ongoing here in Ukraine.
Fanny Fachar with the view from Kyiv. Thank you very much. Well, now Russia took control of most of the Kherson region in Ukraine's south early in the invasion. Now they are bracing for an assault by advanced Ukrainian forces. Kyiv says that Russia is sending in more troops, and preparing the city of Kherson for urban warfare. Russian-installed authorities there have ordered civilians to leave as Ukrainian forces make hard-fought gains nearby.
After months of occupation, the village of Khreshchenivka in Kherson is free. Most of the hamlet's residents fled when the Russians came. But Oleg tells the Danish Broadcasting Corporation that his family stayed behind and were treated cruelly. It's a long story. We experienced a lot of things. One time, we got a bag over our heads and got taken away in military vehicles to the school. Then they ransacked the house. Oleg's family slept in a basement for months as fighting around Hreshchenivka intensified. But they stuck it out and were rewarded for their patience. We waited a long time for the Ukrainian army. We hugged each other and cried. I never lost hope. Settlements up and down the Kherson front are waking up to find their occupiers gone. Analysts say the Russians are abandoning their positions to avoid encirclement as Ukrainian forces advance toward the Dnieper River and the city of Kherson. If they do reach Kherson, it's unclear if there will be many civilians left to liberate. Russia says it has relocated tens of thousands of people as Kyiv's forces draw nearer. A group of Kherson residents arriving in Crimea say they had left behind a dangerous situation.
I'm from Kherson.
How is it there now?
Bad.
Is there shelling?
Yes.
While Russia is calling this an evacuation, Moscow has been accused of forcibly relocating Ukrainians to its territory. Either way, no one who boarded these buses out of Kherson can say when they'll see their homes again.